who might not be familiar with you, could you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you, Bob, first and foremost for having me. My name is Jai Yoko. I am a artist development specialist, an artist manager, and a mentor, to just put a couple of labels on it, if you would. My passion, honestly, is helping people to understand the music business and how to navigate it for themselves so they can make art and actually make a living off of it.
I like that. I like that attitude and I like that kind of vision. Yes, definitely. And we need more people like you actually to help a lot of the artists understand the music business in both sides, the creative side and the business side, which is extremely important. And there's
Yes.
another side, the publishing side too.
Yes.
Three sides to it, absolutely, because the publishing on its own little world.
All
Definitely.
three of my favorite sides. But we all
Yes.
some type of way help them make money. So that's my
Yes.
thing is they can make money off what they love to do. We got happy
Yeah.
people who putting love out into the world. That's what we need more of.
Jai, before we start digging into it, just a quick, brief kind of summary of your, like, what really are you excited and enthusiastic and say, you know what, this is the path I want to take? If we go back to your teenage years and say, hey, what really kind of put you on that path and say, I'm going to make my own mark in the music business. And that's what I want to do. I didn't choose any other career. This is the career I want to take. Was it something influenced mom, dad, home, uncle, part of a band, group?
Definitely, definitely. So as a kid, to be honest, if you would have asked me when I was a teenager if this is what I would be doing, I don't know if I would answer that right. So when I was younger, I was into culinary and hospitality, believe it or not. But I realized that my
Amazing.
two passions were food and music, right? So it actually became my college years when I realized, like, okay, this is where I got to figure it out. I was at St. John's University in New York. I was doing an internship. I got an internship because I was very much of a idle hands and idle time mean trouble for me at that point. Um, so I got an internship with a guy. I'm telling my age right now because I found it off Craigslist. It was just on some like I needed something, right? And he actually wound up being one of the radio people and doing a lot of marketing and college events. So I remember one of my tasks for one of my events was to be responsible for an envelope. And I was really upset at first because I felt like I can do way more than that. But the end of the night came and I opened the envelope and it was $100,000 check. And it was in my boss's name, right? So immediately I just asked, I'm like, what did you do? Like, how, I don't get it. I don't get it because everything seemed just like so cool and easy, if you would. And he's like, this is what happens when you understand the business side of the music industry. And then ever since then, it just became my passion of like, I have to figure out what that means. So I kind of just taught myself and got engulfed in the mix of also like moving to Florida and seeing so many really cool young artists and not understanding why they couldn't get any traction or why they weren't getting just better opportunities. And then that's when it made me realize like these young artists don't understand the business aspect of the music industry. So then it kind of clicked like, I remember this guy saying something about learn the business. Now I'm here figuring out once again facing the learn the business. So I guess I got to be the person to learn the business, if you would. And I think that was a really big catalyst for me was realizing the value of education and understanding the realms that we're in. And from
Mhm.
there, I just became a sponge. And as I learned information, I shared it. And I actually used to have a food truck. So some people would come to the food truck and order their food in the side window. And in the back was me with like 10, 15 artists just going over just random stuff, whatever I learned. Like, yo, I just learned what the copyright was a week ago. Have you ever heard of that? And they like, no. And I'm like, well, this is what I learned. They taking phones out and it's 2 in the morning, just trying to teach. And then from there, I just was like, I think this might be what I'm supposed to do in life.
Amazing. Well, listen, food and music, they do go together. You will never step a foot in a restaurant without hearing music. And the
Absolutely.
music, yes, yes, keep that appetite open and going.
Definitely.
Not to jump off the rail here, but what type of food you had in the food truck?
So we had a win-win situation because we were cooking fresh fruit super late. I only worked. We did Thursday through Sunday, and I was only there from 11 a.m. to about 6 a.m. So just think, coming out of a club at 6 a.m. getting like fried fish, like not something out of a box. Like I'm showing you a piece of catfish that is not cooked, and I'm going to cook it for you right then and there. You want a grilled shrimp
Oh,
salad?
man, please. You're speaking fresh fried fish, crispy. Man, you're speaking my language. Trust me.
Man,
I'm a sucker for fried fish,
same.
especially when it's done fresh and crispy.
Yes.
We're
Same.
gonna call this show, this episode, the food breaker, not the sound breaker. But I love it. I love it. They do go together. Yes, and you're talking to a foodie, so I'm all fine with it.
Yeah, this way it's cool.
Jaya, what really got you started to, or pushed you to start to launch, Jai Yoko Entertainment?
I think for me, it was realizing not only the value of information that I was providing for these people, but to be 100% honest, just realizing like the communities that I was in. So at the time, I was in Jacksonville, Florida. So I don't know if you've ever been there before, if you ever heard of it. Jacksonville can be quite rough, but it's
Heard of
close.
it, never been there. Yes.
It's like one of the biggest cities, if I'm not mistaken, in the United States. So it's huge size wise, right? But it can have very marginalized communities inside of it. So I'm in this community and I'm realizing that there are a lot of, again, talented artists, but they don't know the business. But people will come and sign artists from these cities, but not educate them on what needs to be done.
Got
So
it.
for me, I felt like people were being taken advantage of, right? We're using them for their talent, they're giving them these crazy advances. These artists don't understand what these advances mean. They just feel like I have a chain, I have an entourage, and I'm doing something right. And there's no equity, there's no longevity. And I just felt like this shouldn't be happening. So I feel like that was kind of my catalyst of figuring out the value, if you will, was again realizing that that's a gap. The gap is they don't understand the business side. They just think put it on Instagram, upload it to DistroKid, and boom, you just got to go viral and everything's going to happen. And there was so many steps in between
Hmm.
figuring that out. And then just challenging my own self to learn these different things. So I was always a sponge. I interned with some of the best. And I've interned with some people who just put me in like real life situations where it's like, you're here, figure it out. And it was some of the best teaching that I've gotten. So just being able to absorb and give it back to my community, translate it to a way that they can understand it, and then see them to be able to learn it and apply it, and then their dreams really start to make sense. It's like, okay, this is working. I think this is what I'm supposed to do. So after doing that for a while, just on a smaller scale, that's when I made the company. And in a couple years after making the company, I got the opportunity to go on tour. And again, just mentor with some different other people. And that's what like kind of solidified, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, because the doors for me to learn more are opening really easy right now. And the more that I learn, the more that I give a chance to get back.
Amazing. Jai, I'm sure you faced a lot of hurdles when you started, Jai Yoko Entertainment. And what was some of these hurdles that you came across on your way making your path into the music business by being a founder? And how did you overcome these hurdles?
I think the biggest hurdle was I just had no idea what I was doing. To be completely honest, right? Like I didn't.
Hey, this it's everybody's hurdle. Every entrepreneur who starts their own business in any industry, especially in the music, because we're both in the music business. I don't know what I'm doing. Yes, yes,
Just completely not knowing what I was doing. At one point, not even knowing, what position I wanted to be in. So I think that was hard with trying to learn what I wanted to be, and at the same time trying to learn the industry, trying to learn how to be
yeah,
solopreneur, if you would, because not only am I the founder, but I'm marketing, I'm HR, you do everything, if you would. So I think just figuring out what to do, and then after ultimately realizing, like you said, nobody knows what to do. Just kind of keep winging it and figure out, trial and error, and from there everything became easier. I will also say just location wise. So when I first started, I was in New York, which was the land of everything, and I had so many opportunities, and that was my whole reason for placing myself up there. But I moved down to Florida for family reasons, and coming down here was a completely different market. It was slower. It was a not only change of pace, but for me, it was a culture shock, to be 100% honest.
yes,
So just having to adapt to a whole new area and being not only the new kid, but I'm the new kid who's doing something different. Which for some people it didn't work, but for me it actually made it why it worked, because it's like we don't know who this person is, and they saying something that nobody else around here has ever said. So let's figure out what it was. But I loved all my hurdles. It made me learn just to overcome things, but also like there's a solution to everything. You just got to figure it out.
yes, yes. Well, at least, hey, you're being honest and real and true about it, and that makes it even more genuine. I like that. Jai, let's talk about you when you worked at the time that you worked with DJ Dr. Doom. How did it influence you and how did it shape you in the music business, and also, prepared you for everything else you're doing now? Let's talk
Absolutely.
about that experience. Yeah.
Dr. Doom is to this day, he's like my dad in the music industry, if you would.
Uh huh.
I love the fact of just knowing that my kind of job with him started as being a full, just bottom of the barrel intern, right? Like, so he was a DJ. He still is like one of the most prominent DJs in Jacksonville, not only with the radio station, but he is like the music director for Funk Fest, and he does a bunch of events. So there was a lot of stuff going on. He's around, of course, a lot of celebrities. So when you first realize, like, oh, I get to meet, work with somebody, I get to, hang out with all of them, and it's like, no, 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 no. Like, you're starting from the bottom. Here's 5,000 flyers. You know what I'm saying? Go put them out. I need help with, I always ask them, like, what can I help you with being that I'm younger? And back then it was like Facebook event invites and stuff like that. You feel me? So I'm learning how to run all the codes and stuff like that. But the biggest thing with him taught me relationships, because we're talking about that was in 2012. Here we are in 2024. And now me and Doom are more business partners, right? We work with developing artists together. We put events on together. He's giving me opportunities where, he's meeting an up and coming artist and they need some admin work done or they need strategies, and he sends them to me. He's referred a lot of clients. He's also introduced me and given me opportunities just for being loyal to him as well. So it's great to just see like one hand washing the other. This is the same person
Yes.
who started molding me when I didn't know anything in this industry. And now he's the same person who's sending me clients type thing, but also like just showing me like when you do good things with good people for the
Yes.
sake of genuine relationships and not from wanting something for it, beautiful
Uh-huh.
things happen. So I love Doom. To this day, we still working on stuff. I got to text him later on the project, believe it or not.
Well, shout out to Dr. DJ Doom. Definitely. Let's talk about Pretty Smart Law. What did you pick up from Pretty Smart Law and how did it help, Jai Yoko Entertainment or Jai Yoko as an individual and an entrepreneur? Yeah.
So Pretty Smart Law helped me understand the entertainment law side of things, right? So taught me a lot more about the IP and overall ownership and then issues that you have with it. Got me definitely better on contract law and just overall understanding again more of the music is a business side, if you would. So with that, I just was able to not only polish up skills but work kind of in tandem with the label. So I mean, with the law firm, if you would. So if I had clients that I was working on something and they needed some law work, I could send them over. Vice versa. She had a client that maybe hit her up about a contract, but come to find out he needs his catalog organized. We were able to kind of cross things over in tandem, and just some real life opportunities to be able to see different negotiations of deals happening, and then seeing things happen on TV or X Y Z, and it's like wow, we did that 2 years ago type. So again, another opportunity for real life experience to be able to actually do it and learn it at the same time.
Well, hey, understanding the laws of the music business is extremely crucial and
Absolutely.
important because a lot of artists, I'm not going to say they don't pay attention to it, but they don't pay enough attention. They don't give it the attention that really deserves that need for them because it's knowledge and it's going to help them, kind of carve their path into the music business much better and understand all of the laws and the ins and out of it from the law side of it. And a lot of artists don't. And you see that as a founder and as somebody as an executive in the music business, you have your own company. I'm sure you come across all of these issues as far as, understand the business, understand the law side of the business, the contracts.
So much. I feel like every other day it's an issue within it. And it's again, artists not understanding that this is a business. I'll say it over and over again, but they really just don't understand how in depth these things are. I had a issue with a label that I'm working with now, and their artists didn't understand that. Like, yes, you're signed to a label, you have certain responsibilities as well, and they're like, "Where are my responsibilities?" It's like it's on page 14 of your contract that you obviously never read like we suggested you to do so, or how it says on page 1 you need to get an attorney to review this with you type thing. So it's such a gap, and again that comes with lack of education of the music business and understanding the ins and the outs of it, but that's why we're here.
Is it also a lot of artists don't give that, focus and attention onto agreements and, artist agreements where the fear of paying attorneys a lot of money to read certain contracts? Because, attorneys are not cheap and somebody read an agreement could charge you $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour. It depends. Back in the day, 20 years ago, you're able to make a deal with an attorney. It's like, hey, can I give you $500 and read the agreement from me? I'm a new artist. I don't have the money, or $250. It depends. But now it's different. No lawyer will touch anything less than $500 an hour at least.
I think it's definitely fear of the price, but I think it's also not understanding the role of what an attorney is for sometimes. So earlier this year, I want to say maybe February, I did a one of our webinars where I had an entertainment attorney on there specifically to be like, explain why we need you, because so many people think that they can run their contract through Chat GPT, and that that be the answers to everything, and where that gives you a great outline. You have an attorney who's on your side, who's advocating for you, so they don't understand like. Don't use the attorney that the label gave you because it's free. It's like they all work together. You don't want to do that
Yes.
type thing. You need somebody who's actually advocating for you, who you can sit down and say, okay, this is what I want to accomplish out of this agreement for me. Can you read
Yes.
this agreement and see if it aligns? And if it doesn't, what should we counter offer to make sure that I'm set up? That's something that you can't do on your own right now. So that's why you hired an attorney. And I feel like after we broke that down, there was a lot of like, okay, now I see why I get it type thing. That was half of it. But then payment wise as well, there are always ways to get it done, right? There are some attorneys who offer afterpay, and people just don't ask and don't know. They just think off the break like, oh, I gotta pay somebody. And the artist mindset, I heard somebody say the other day was like, I don't understand why I gotta pay everybody first and I'm not getting paid. If I'm not getting paid, nobody gets paid. And it's like, well, if nobody gets paid, you're not going to get what you want. So find different ways just to negotiate with them. I've seen people who like, look, I don't have your full retainer, but I can pay you half and I'll promote your company to all of my people and I'll put your logos on it. So I'm very much a closed mouths don't get fed person. If there's something I need, I'm going to figure out a way to get it done, whether it's paying, bartering, whatever it needs. But having that part not fulfilled, that's not an option.
Amazing. Yes. True. 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 Definitely, you need people more like you in the music industry. Let's talk about the Real Carter Culture Tour. How did that change your view of understanding and your knowledge to understand artist needs?
That opportunity changed the entire trajectory of my life, to be completely honest, right?
Hmm.
Shout out to him. It's crazy. I just seen him a couple weeks ago at his wedding, man. So Rel Carter, he created a tour in which he was going to different cities,
Hmm.
educating them and allowing them an opportunity to perform. At the time, he was with Rock Nation, the label. So this is before they did the union that they just did recently. And I mean, you didn't really have an A&R who was traveling to different cities, right? Not unless they knew one specific person, but not to just give people an opportunity to learn about this is what we do in the industry. So we had a mutual friend. The mutual friend was also on tour. He hit me up one day and was like, I know you teach the artist music stuff. I just need like a quick curriculum real quick. We got a tour the next morning. You my guy, I got you. So I wound up making an outline for them, and that outline is literally what got me an opportunity to join the tour. So I joined the tour in 2018. I would say until about COVID, we wound up doing like 30 cities. We went to Dominican Republic, and we were all just sitting down with artists, whether it was 5 people in a room or 150 people in a room, and it was like teaching them, the basics of stuff. This is what your royalties are. This is what the companies you should be signed up with. This is what an EPK is. Just this is what an elevator pitch. Just the basic stuff, and then giving them an opportunity to perform. If they wanted critiques, we would critique them. Just small stuff. Don't cuff the mic. You know what I'm saying? Have a show mix. Interact with your crowd. Introduce yourself. And some of these artists really took that information and took off for real, for real. Some of these artists were saying like they never heard this information before in their life. They never get these type of opportunities. It really changed them.
Hmm.
But for me, it was once again realizing to be exposed to different cities. So I'm not just in Florida right now. One week I'm in Indianapolis. The next week we're in Philadelphia. After that we're in Phoenix. And it was just like, wow, people all over are having the same issue, and we're literally trying to provide, the answer to it, but it's working at the same time, and we're seeing people whose lives are changing. And to this day, we still know some of these artists, and some of them have gone on to do like amazing, amazing things. So it was an opportunity to just plant seeds all over the country with just helping artists and showing them like, everybody's not a bad person.
No.
We do, y'all.
Let's talk about publishing. What is, you would say, the common myth about music publishing you always have to correct or end up correcting?
People think that the labels do it for them, so they don't think it's their responsibility. They think that once they put the music onto Spotify or Apple Music or Tidal, that everything is done. That's all they have to do, and they don't realize like you're responsible for registering and collecting and administrating all these things yourself. And if you're not, you got money sitting on the table and then these black box royalties that you can be using for your own career right now, but you're too busy thinking somebody else is doing it for you.
You know, so your advice, what's your advice for any artist right now who wants to kind of get in and, to get out there, sign to a label? Would you advise them to say, hey, first thing you do, beside having a manager, somebody who can help you organize certain things for you and guide you, to do a separate publishing deal from a record distribution deal?
I mean, the biggest, I tell everybody to be honest, read the book, right? So I feel like the answers are always in the books. Whether you're going with, Donald Passman with his All You Want to Know About the Music Industry, or to, some of these more updated ones, everybody needs to learn the rules first before we can break them. So it's small things like, do you understand your actual music royalties, right? Mechanical, performance, digital performance, sync, X, Y, and Z. We got to know the basics before we can move forward from anything else. So for me, before I even recommend to sign up with a different company, get a manager, any of these things, learn it for yourself as much as possible, right? Learn your royalties, understand what BMI does or ASCAP, understand what Sound Exchange does or the MLC. These different things we can do for ourselves. And I'm gonna be honest, it's a YouTube video. There's 3,000 YouTube videos for each website probably right now. So
Yes.
we got to use these smartphones to our advantage, so they make us smart and not debilitate us and make us feel like everything can be done in a one-stop shop. So challenge yourself to kind of learn what publishing is and what some of these entities are first. I'd rather you learn for yourself and possibly make a mistake versus you're paying somebody else for something that you can be doing yourself. Or you hire somebody, and because unfortunately there are people who don't have the best intentions in this industry. You hire somebody and they're
Always.
not doing the job, and you don't know if they're doing it or not because
Yes.
you don't know what's supposed to be done.
Are you a fan of the 360 deals or no for
I am,
artists?
and that is my biased side of understanding this is a business. All right, and if you understand a 360 deal, which for some people they don't, you don't understand what the benefit of it is. If you do understand it, you realize that for me, it's having the label ensure that I have other opportunities because we all know that the music isn't what sells the most. So if they get their piece of the pie back by getting me a show and helping me develop my acting side, that's a win-win for both of us in my eyes. So
Correct.
I like 360 deals personally, but that also goes back to understand what a 360 deal is.
How does Jai Yoko help artists on their personal brand?
Uh,
Let's
so
talk about that.
we create creative solutions. So put it like this: every artist is not the same. They don't have the same goals. They're not
Hmm.
from the same place. They don't have the same budget. They don't want the same outcome. So there's no cookie cutter answer to this. What we do is we create custom creative solutions based on what the artist wants to see for themselves. We need to figure out what your goals are so we can then reverse engineer and give you the play to be able
Hmm.
to accomplish that. But I think one of the biggest things that we do is we teach you how those things are done, right? So
Yes.
everything that I tell artists, I do not want to be with you forever. And I'm not saying this because I don't like you. I love you, but I want to be able to give you the tools and the information you need so you can stand on your own. I want a postcard. I want to see you get a Grammy in a couple years. I want to see a picture that you bought your mom a house. I don't want to be with you every single day because if I teach you the correct things that you're supposed to learn so you can stand on your own foundation, you won't need me.
And a lot of artists avoid, not avoid, as you said earlier, they think just put a link on Instagram, put it out there with an independent distributor, DIY, a distribution company, and that's it. And then you sit back and watch. They forget about one thing: marketing.
Yes.
Yes, and that's a big, big tool. A lot of us say, "Hey, just throw it against the wall, see if it sticks or not," and it doesn't work that way. And that's why there's so much music sitting on a lot of these streaming digital platforms, not earning a penny. Probably there's millions of songs, millions. Nobody's clicking on it, nobody's touching it, no nothing, because a lot of people think you just put it out there and let it take its rotation. It's turn. It's like a roller coaster. No, it's not like a roller coaster. You really have to push the links out there for other people to know who you are, your links, your music, you know, plus that's part of marketing, but they all lack of that. A lot of independent artists. And I know you come in. How do you come into that picture and say, you know what? Now we're going to take charge of this, and that's what we need to do.
So that's where we normally come out with like project managing for artists for their releases and stuff. And with that, it's to me, it's honestly making the artist dig deeper, right? So a lot of
Hmm.
artists are like, okay, I want to put this song out. I'm always asking why, for
Hmm.
why, right? What's the message behind it? What's the story? What's the reason? Why do you want people to hear this? And then they'll probably give me a story, right? And it's like, well, how do we say that? And they normally kind of look at you sideways, like, what do you mean? It's like we have to have pre-release strategies, release strategies, post-release strategies. We can't just drop it and go. You know, how are we telling the story? How are we getting people involved? How are we making sure that you're interacting with people? Are we doing some media runs? Are we, some people want to put a billboard up type thing. It's like, what's our plan? And honestly, with just marketing alone, I think a lot of people drop the ball when it comes to marketing because marketing has to be planned. And a lot of people are not
Yes.
planning their releases. They're just going to the studio and they wake up and they listen to it. It's not even mixed and mastered yet. And they just like, yo, I like it. We putting it on DistroKid and it's out. And it's like, that's not how it works, you guys. But they always question, like, this major artist just dropped their project today. How did they get a billboard already? And how were they on playlists and X, Y, and Z? And it's like, because they planned this 6 months ago. You know what I mean? Everything's been strategic. So even on the independent side, it doesn't have to be 6 months in advance, but I try to, push my artists, give me at least 8 weeks, man. That way we can pitch for, Spotify editorial placement, which will help engage some of your previous listeners. That's 100% free, right? It gives us time to make bulk content and edit it on our phone, which can also be free, or to hit up your local podcast and say, hey, I'm releasing in 6 weeks. You got anything in those couple days so I can help promote it? But all this stuff means that you have to do it in advance. So I feel like
Yes.
we dropped the ball on marketing because we don't plan.
Interesting. Can we share some of the success stories that you encountered or endured, during your journey so far at Jai Yoko Entertainment?
Definitely, definitely. I think one of my favorite ones from this year was actually being able to use my company and venture more into the nonprofit and the community spaces. So earlier this year, and this is why I tell everybody, like, your ideas and what you want to have don't have to fully be flushed out. Just start, right? So I would say December last year, I kind of made a vow to myself, and I said this year coming up, which we're in 2024, everything that I do has to provide value for my community. Whether it needs to be information, it needs to be resources, just it has to be intentionally valuable. I
Yes.
would say around February, I went to one of our Recording Academy mixers because I'm a member of the Recording Academy. And I normally don't like mixers because I'm also starting to finally face my social anxiety that I have a little bit. But I go to this mixer and I meet this guy named Steve, and we just get to candidly talking. We never met each other from a can of paint, do not know anything. And I just shared to him, I said, yo, this year I want to do a writing camp for some kids because I want them to understand how to write so they can put their emotions into music because that's going to help them mentally. This is just one of my things I want to
Yes.
have happen. Steve calls me a couple of days later and he says, I've been thinking about it since you told it to me and I'm going to help you. I say, okay, cool. But in the music industry, you meet all kind of people. And one day you guys are best friends and 2 weeks later you don't remember each other's names. It just happens. No hard feelings, right? So Steve calls me again about 2 weeks later and he said, yo, there's a grant I'm going to apply for it. And if I get it, I'm going to give it to you. And then we're going to make this writing camp happen. Well,
Wow.
by the grace of God, and we got the grant. It was about $10,000 and we took the majority of the
Amazing.
money and we went to our local Boys and Girls Club. We bought them new studio equipment, and kind of upgraded their studio, if you would. And we did a 5 week writing camp with the kids, from literally teaching them how to write lyrics to recording everything in front of them, mixing, mastering. Now we're in the clearance process, so we can actually release the song onto DSPs. We setting all the kids up with publishing, so they can get paid from it and stuff like that. But to see the confidence level of these kids just from being able to teach them and show them that they can take what they feel on the inside and like
Yeah.
when they hear the song, how excited all these kids get. Out of everything I've done in my life, that's probably the best thing I've ever done. Just because you see these kids light up. You see it literally gave them hope. It gave them a reason to go to the next day because they wanted to finish their song or they needed to record their verse or they want to hear their part back and they want their mom to hear it. And you got people's moms and parents are crying and carrying on like, oh my God, that's my kid. And now we're trying to figure out how to get, scholarships for some of these kids for when they graduate in a couple years. So it showed me that we can take the resources that we have on the business side and being able to put it in our community and again create value on both sides. So it's a win-win for me because it's like, we helping the artists, but we helping the kids, and at the end of the day, everybody is being helped through the love of art.
This is positively inspiring, really amazing. Just by networking, a conversation, and from there it became to reality.
Yes.
Again, networking is so important, and also don't be shy to share your views, your ideas, your dreams, your passions. You never know who you might come across. Somebody might share the same passion, say, "Hey, I'm interested. I might help you to get involved." And you've done it. You both done it. Amazing. Congrats. Really, really great cause. Absolutely. Congratulations on such a cause. Jai, let's talk about, there's a lot of people going to be inspired when they watch this episode by you and how you carved your path into the music industry. And they say, you know what? Jai did it. And, I could do the same. What advice you have for them?
Man, trust your story, trust your journey, right? You are exactly where you are supposed to be at this moment in this time.
Mhm.
Even myself, I've struggled with wishing, why is this not done? Why have I not done X, Y, and Z? It's because you're not prepared for it, right? So I am very much a spiritual person, and I've been through a lot of crazy things that got me to this place, if you would. But I heavily believe that you really just have to believe that not only your dream will come true, but it's going to happen in its own time. So, especially I think right now in the time with so much like social media and everybody comparing themselves to where they're at, you kind of got to go tunnel vision and you just got to trust your own journey. Trust that where you're at happens for a reason. Be thankful for everything that did happen. Be thankful for the things that did not happen. And just, take it and keep going. I'm a person where I live by a mantra and I'm looking at it because I got it tatted on me. It literally says me versus me. So that's the
That's
only
it.
person that I compete with, right? The only thing that I have to do every day is be better than what I was yesterday. So if yesterday I only went to the gym for 15 minutes, if I go to the gym for 16 minutes today, I'm better than what I was yesterday. And that's
Absolutely. Step
so
it up.
focus
Yes.
on you.
One step high. Yes. Amazing. Great advice, Jai.
Thank
You've been in the music business for a minute and a good minute. You have your own business. You went through the struggles and the hurdles. You overcome them. And so, where do you think the music business going right now? The music business, excuse me, going.
We're in a reset. I actually love it. There's a lot of exposure of things that have not been working that I think a lot of people have thought for years that this is the game plan or this is the route they want us to take. For example, like just streaming and the fact that streaming is not paying anybody, and that's not what we should be pushing for. Social media overall, the fact that people are prioritizing followers over building actual relationships with fans, vanity metrics, realizing that a lot of this stuff is bought and it's bots and it's not real. And I think it's a great reset for people to start going back to the intentions and the integrity behind music itself and realizing
Hmm.
this was made to connect with people and using that opportunity to connect with people and grow with folks and learn from each other and kind of creating your own little communities of people who are like-minded versus trying to be the most popular person in the world. It's burning everybody out. It's stressing people out. Folks' attention spans can't handle it right now. So I love that we're in this reset. And I feel like I've been telling people it's from the bottom on down. If you look at these major labels, they're resetting as well because everything that worked for them at one point is not working. So it's an even playing field right now for any and everybody if they just understand the shift that is taking place.
Do you think that technology has a lot to do with it for that reset and the shift? Or you think also, or maybe both together, artists fighting for their independent now? Artists say, hey, you know what?
That one.
I don't need you.
So I definitely think it's both, especially when you start talking about like AI with the tech side. Whereas there is this, I feel like the artists on the independent side are definitely fighting for it. The labels are fighting, but to an extent, it's like they're fighting, but they're also signing deals with a lot of these big companies, right? I think the major catalyst is definitely the independents taking back the reins of things. Independents being able to use more of the technology and just
Yeah.
social art to cut some of that, trim the fat, if you would, from the traditional layout that a label was providing. But then I also think it's just a lot of these artists who are realizing they don't have to fit the quote unquote social norm, and they're becoming more trustworthy within themselves, which is getting them actual fans versus followers, and they're able to sustain off of these fans because the whole Kevin Kelly theory with 1,000 fan theory. You feel me? Like you don't need but so many people to be able to actually make a sustainable living in the music industry. So some of those folks, I feel like, crack the code and is like, y'all don't have to be doing TikTok dances if I don't want to. I don't need a million streams. I don't have to do whatever I don't want to do. I found my tribe. This is what I'm happy doing. They like me. We learn from each other, and this is my bag. And I think that is messing up the labels because they don't have as many artists depending on them anymore. So now they got to restructure the model to figure out what are artists actually needing versus
Hmm.
what else has also advanced technology wise. Now that we're in 2024, and they have to kind of redo what their original game plan was.
So you would say we are in that era of artist empowerment. That's it.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. They're getting smarter with
They're no longer a passenger or in the back seat. They're in the driver's seat.
they're absolutely driving the whole cause right now. They're
Yeah.
learning more. They're learning how to advocate more for themselves. They're learning communities more. They're teaming up more with each other and putting resources together like never before. So
Hmm.
they're able to, drive their self to their goal versus depending on people who don't have the same intentions of them, right? And not saying that everybody's bad, but they're aligning a little bit better as well with people and getting opportunities and being like, nah, that's not what's comfortable for me. That doesn't work for me, or that doesn't work for the message that I'm trying to put out here right now. Which again, I absolutely love it.
Jai, any upcoming projects or something you're working on that you would like to mention for our listeners and viewers of Soundbreaker and your fans and the artist that follows you also? Any project for everybody to be in the lookout for?
Definitely, definitely. So there are a couple of different webinars that I have coming up with different companies that I'm really excited
Please.
about.
Yeah.
I am hopefully this fall going to. I'm kind of in my search phase, if you will, but start A&Ring maybe a couple of projects this fall to prepare for next year Grammy season and see how that things go. And there's a possibility we might go back on tour, so I'll keep everybody posted on that. But that's super exciting just to get back on the road, get to some different cities so we can get hands on with artists again. Yeah, that's the main thing. The main thing is hopefully getting back on tour.
Again, how would artists once this show goes live, some of the artists want to get in contact with you, they want to work with you, groups, artists, how can they get a hold of you? How can they contact you?
Always best place is our website. So jayokoent.com. On there, you'll always see the events that we have going on. All of our services are there for anybody who wants to work or do consultations. We also have access to our text message link, text message list, excuse me, and that's where we like to. That's where we hang out at. We have a lot of fun in there. A lot of just regular check-ins to see how we're doing mentally because everything can't be business-wise. I also give just little updates and stuff that's going on in the industry. If I learn about it, I'm blasting it out to everybody so we're learning in real time. And just an opportunity for us to build community there. I'm going to crank up. We normally do once a month just free Zooms where everybody can just kind of jump on, ask questions, network, promote your project, whatever it might be. And I always tell people, you never know who's in the room. I've seen some really crazy things happen with just people networking off of Zoom, and next thing you know, it's like we got an album together. So cool things happen. But yeah, website is
Yes.
the home base for everything. And that's where you can find again all of our socials, everything we got going on event wise, where we traveling to. Jay Yoko.
You heard it here at Soundbreaker. Well, I have to say, Jai Yoko, it's been a great, insightful, and I would say motivating and inspiring, very inspiring interview. I like it. Another one on Soundbreaker. I love it. I sometimes I say to myself, I'm blessed that I always get to talk, to meet. Yes, virtually. Unfortunately, we're not face to face, but I'm sure our paths will cross. People like yourself and others that I have on Soundbreaker, and I'm always learning. I'm always being inspired. I'm always being motivated. I'm always being pushed. I'm like, you know what? Yes, whatever you want to do, it's never too late, and it's nothing is impossible. You got to put your stuff out there, be consistent, and just keep pushing forward. Absolutely. Really, it was a pleasure and an honor having you today on the show. I want to say thank you for joining us today. This concludes today's episode of Soundbreaker. Please make sure to follow us on socials and stay tuned for a new episode. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Mr. Bob. I appreciate you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share the Soundbreaker podcast. And if you are joining us on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.